Japan intervenes to prop up yen. Average adult will soon be worth $100,000. Russia frees 215 Ukrainian soldiers. North Korea says it has never supplied weapons to Russia. South Africa faces nationwide blackouts. Over 1,300 detained in protests across Russia. Former First Lady of Honduras sentenced to prison. Angelina Jolie makes surprise visit to Pakistan.
Hello, I'm Jolie. Thank you for joining us on FUNDAY News. It is Friday, September 23rd, and here are your top stories. Japan intervened to support the yen for the first time since 1998 on Thursday, September 22nd, as the yen has declined 20% against the dollar this year alone. One Tokyo-based trader said, "It's the next logical step of the psychological game the Japanese are trying to play here." The yen was heading very steeply to 146 to the dollar before the move of the Bank of Japan. The move to steady the yen cascaded across global currency markets. Both the pound and the euro swung into positive territory after starting the day lower.
The move, which traders said was conducted shortly after 5 p.m. on Thursday, local time in Tokyo, caused the yen to surge to 140.34 yen to the dollar in the space of a few minutes, the currency's most volatile day since 2016. It had previously hit a low of 145.89 yen. So far this year, the yen has lost about a fifth of its value against the dollar. The intervention also highlighted the powerful impact of a surging U.S. dollar. The U.S. Fed raised its main interest rate by 0.75 percentage points for the third time in a row on Wednesday.
According to a report by the Credit Suisse Research Institute released on Tuesday, the world will have nearly 40% more millionaires in 2026 compared with the end of last year. The Swiss bank forecast is that by 2024, global wealth per adult should pass the 100,000 threshold and that the number of millionaires will exceed 87 million individuals over the next 5 years. Credit Suisse said in its annual Global Wealth Report 2022 that wealth per adult rose 8.4% to 87,489 last year.
We have thought about understanding better the characteristics of women wealth around the world.
Credit Suisse said all regions contributed to the rise in global wealth, but North America and China dominated, with North America accounting for more than half of the global total, and China adding another quarter. The United States continued to rank highest in the number of the world's richest, with more than 140,000 ultra-high net worth individuals, with wealth above $50 million. Followed by China with 32,710 individuals.
The head of President Volodymyr Zelensky's office, Andriy Yermak in Kyiv, said on Wednesday that Russia has released 215 Ukrainians it took prisoner after a protracted battle for the port city of Mariupol earlier this year, including top military leaders. The freed prisoners included the commander and deputy commander of the Azov battalion that led much of the fighting. The move is unexpected since Russian-backed separatists last month said there would be a trial of Azov personnel who Moscow described as Nazis.
In a statement, Yermak said the freed prisoners included an Azov lieutenant colonel and his deputy. The commander of the 36th Marine Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces was also freed. The three men had helped lead a dogged weeks-long resistance from the bunkers and tunnels below Mariupol's giant steelworks before they and hundreds of Azov fighters surrendered in May to Russian-backed forces.
North Korea on Thursday said it has never supplied weapons or ammunition to Russia and has no plans to do so, while warning the U.S. to keep its mouth shut and stop circulating rumors aimed at tarnishing the country's image. The state-run media KCNA reported recently the U.S. and other hostile forces talked about the violation of a resolution of the UNSC, spreading a rumor of arms dealings between the DPRK and Russia. We have never exported weapons or ammunition to Russia before, and we will not plan to export them.
The media reported that U.S. State Department Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel earlier this month said that Russia is in the process of purchasing millions of rockets and artillery shells from North Korea for use in Ukraine. But White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby later clarified that there were no indications that the purchase has been completed and certainly no indications that those weapons are being used inside of Ukraine.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa had an urgent meeting with his cabinet on Wednesday to discuss the country's electricity crisis, which has led to unprecedented levels of nationwide power blackouts in Africa's most developed economy. The troubled state-owned power utility Eskom, which produces about 95% of the country's electricity, is implementing scheduled rolling blackouts in an attempt to save electricity while struggling to keep its aging and poorly maintained coal-fired power stations operational.
Ramaphosa returned home to chair the meeting after attending the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II in London. He canceled his trip to New York to attend the United Nations General Assembly. The media reported Eskom had started implementing Stage 6 power cuts, a level that means businesses and homes go without electricity for more than 10 hours a day. The blackouts are also affecting other government services, including water supplies in some areas, as electric-powered pumps grind to a halt.
The independent OVD Info protest monitoring group said that according to information it had collated from 38 Russian cities, hours after President Vladimir Putin ordered Russia's first military draft since World War II. More than 1,311 people had been held by security forces by late evening on Wednesday at protests denouncing mobilization. It said those figures included at least 502 in Moscow and 524 in St. Petersburg, Russia's second most populous city.
Russian Interior Ministry official Irina Volk was quoted by Russian news agencies as saying, "In a number of regions, there were attempts to stage unauthorized actions, and those persons who violated laws were detained and taken to police stations for investigation and to establish their responsibility." FUNDAY News reported yesterday that the price of one-way flights out of Russia skyrocketed on Wednesday after Putin ordered the immediate call-up of 300,000 reservists.
A judge sentenced former Honduran First Lady Rosa Elena Bonilla de Lobo to 14 years in prison Wednesday on corruption charges, the second time Bonilla had been sentenced. Bonilla will be allowed to appeal the sentence within 20 days. During her first corruption trial, Bonilla was convicted and sentenced to 58 years in prison, but the conviction was tossed out due to inconsistencies in the process. She was retried in March and convicted of fraud and embezzlement.
The media reported Bonilla embezzled more than $1 million in government funds between 2010 and 2014, when her husband Porfirio Lobo was president. Last year, the U.S. government barred Lobo from entering the country due to allegations of drug trafficking. In July, their 23-year-old son was killed along with 3 others when they were ambushed by gunmen leaving a club in the capital. Bonilla's private secretary was also sentenced Wednesday to 7 years and 3 months in prison for fraud.
Hollywood actress and UN Refugee Agency Special Envoy Angelina Jolie made a surprise visit to one of the worst flood-hit areas in southern Pakistan on Tuesday. According to the International Rescue Committee, Jolie is visiting Pakistan to support communities affected by the devastating floods. TV footage showed Jolie arriving at an airport in Karachi, the capital of Sindh province, where floods since mid-June have killed 692 people, damaged hundreds of thousands of homes, and left 500,000 people homeless.
According to local media, Jolie later visited some of the flood-affected areas. There was no comment from the government about Jolie's visit to Dadu, one of the worst-hit districts where waterborne diseases have already caused nearly 300 deaths since July. The visit comes as Pakistan's Prime Minister, Shahbaz Sharif, is in New York for the 77th session of the UN General Assembly. In his speech, Sharif will highlight the damages caused by climate change-induced floods in the impoverished country.
FUNDAY News will help you sharpen your English skills and keep you informed about international current events. If you want to know more about our other programs and keep learning about the world's most important topics in English, please click the link in the description below to join FUNDAY for free. And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us on FUNDAY News. I'm Jolie, your host. I'll see you next time.